मेरा वॉइस क्लियर है ना?
हाँ हाँ।
हो रहा है ना? ओके ओके। दीक्षिका, लेट्स स्टार्ट देयर.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 3 days boot camp by GDGC Community Asansol. Today is the day one, and the speaker for today is Asif Ahmed, who will be teaching you the basics of HTML and CSS. You might be wondering that will we be getting mar points? So yes, guys, you will be getting mar points, but you have to follow certain steps.
What are these steps, yaar?
Yeah, I'm telling you. So the steps are: firstly, you have to attend the all three sessions of the all 3 days. Second, you have to make a LinkedIn post tagging the community link of the all 3 days. And thirdly, you have to complete a short quiz at the end of the third session, which you will be required to submit the link to your LinkedIn posts. So, and hence you will be able to get the mar points. Now, I am handling over the mic to our speaker for today, that is Asif Ahmed.
Hello, everyone. As you can see at your bottom left corner, my name is Asif Ahmed. Today, we are going to start exploring how websites are actually built. By the end of the today's session, you'll understand the basic of HTML and CSS, and even create some small basic web pages for yourself. Okay, so before we actually get into building it,
आसिफ भैया,
yes,
आप हिंदी में बोल लेंगे क्या? मुझे इंग्लिश में थोड़ा थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम होता है.
और मेरे को थोड़ा हिंदी में थोड़ा थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है. But I'll be switching in between. Don't worry. If you guys want to understand, please let me know. I'll switch. Okay. So before I actually get into building, I wanna know if you guys know what is HTML. If anybody up to answer, please open up your mic.
Yeah, bhaiya. I think.
Please go ahead.
Yes, bhaiya. Basically, it's a markup language, and it's basically used to make the front end of a website. Okay, that is the landing page, which means
Okay.
in like if I would like to give a real world contrast, which means it is used to make the skeleton of the front end of the website. Am I right?
Okay.
And the most used version is now HTML5. That's the
Okay. Yep.
updated one.
You are okay. Yes, correct. Yes, yes, correct. So as the field HTML is hypertext markup language tool we use to create website, giving instructions to computer, and we will see more of it. Okay. So now I want to ask you guys, what do you understand by CSS? What is CSS? Why do we use CSS? If anyone?
Yes, bhaiya. Basically, it's a cascading style sheet, which means it's full form, and it's all about visual aesthetics, which means uh, it's about adding some, you know, visually pleasing aesthetics to the website. Okay, like the glowing of a button or any particular highlights.
All right. Okay. So now we know what is HTML and CSS. Um, can you guys tell me why do we use HTML and CSS for the web? Why not some other languages?
यूट्यूब पर वही बोला यूज़ करने के लिए.
YouTube पे?
यूट्यूब पे कोई भैया जी थे, उन्होंने यही बोला.
YouTube पे वही बोला. Anyone wanna answer? So the real reason is like it's very simple. Okay, browser is actually built to only understand HTML and CSS and JavaScript also, but JavaScript is not my forte. It's not my thing, so I wouldn't talk about it. And your browser has engines built to understand HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Okay, Sorry. So where was I? Were you? I was audible, right?
Yeah, yeah, as if you were
Yeah,
audible.
yeah, yeah. Audible, bhaiya.
Okay. So your browser has engines built to read them. Okay. So actually, the best way to learn HTML is if we go directly dive into it, and let's get started. I guess I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. You guys can follow along if you like, and please feel free to jump in if you have a doubt. Okay, you can either open up your mic or write down the questions in the chat box. Before getting into it, you guys can make a folder if you like HTML, CSS course or whatever. And I'm gonna open up my VS Code. I have that folder already open with me, and I'm gonna create a new file. Okay. Basics of HTML. Basic of HTML.html. We end our file name with .html because it is for our browser to understand that it is an HTML file. Okay, so I'm gonna create a button like hello, and I'm gonna open this. I might have a session, or as you guys can see, I have built a button, but it has no styles. This is a basic button for you to get the understanding of what HTML and how we actually do things. Okay. Now I'm gonna write a set of text within this P block. Okay. This is the HTML syntax. Okay. This is the opening tag. This is the opening tag, and this is the closing tag. Between this, we write the name that will you'll be seeing on website. Okay. Now I can do this. Hello, hello world. If we refresh our page, you'll see a set of text, which is hello world.
आसिफ once please explain कि ये लाइव सर्वर वाला कैसे काम कर रहा है और
लाइव
मैं
सर्वर
वेट टू डाउनलोड द एक्सटेंशन
लाइव सर्वर नहीं काम कर रहा है, वो हम डायरेक्ट फाइल मैनेजमेंट से आप ओपन कर रहे हैं, एक्सप्लोरर से यहाँ से ओपन किए हैं. You guys can open this folder and you can open up with Brave or Chrome. I have just directly opened up in Brave. Open, it will open. Okay. These are the two elements, one button and the other is paragraph, in which we write a set of text. We use paragraph to write set of text and I'm gonna show you guys one more element, which is anchor element. This is used to actually link to another websites, and you can actually link a file or whatever you guys want to link. You can link with this, and this uses um, an attribute. I'm gonna give this href. This is an attribute, and inside this you gonna paste the link you want to open. So I'm gonna go to my Brave. I'm gonna search for google.com. I'm gonna copy
Asif,
this.
whatever you are explaining,
Okay.
also repeat it in Hindi.
Okay, भैया. Um, ये एक HTML element है, anchor element with A. This is used to link to another website. इसमें तुम अपना link डाल सकते हो किसी दूसरे website or file. If you wanna open some file, you can also do that. And this is the attribute. This is known as attribute, which is used to um, modify an element. Okay. So if we open this file on our Brave, open up here and we refresh it, you'll see. Oh, sorry. My bad. Link. Now you'll see a link will be over here, and if you open this link, it will move to google.com or whatever link you paste over here. Okay. If you guys go to YouTube, you're gonna paste YouTube link, Google or whatever you guys wanna paste over here. Okay. And so this anchor tag, we can paste more than one attributes. Okay, so this is one attribute, and I'm going to show you guys another attribute, that is target. What it does is, by default, anchor element has a target that is a blank target. Okay, which makes this link open up in the same page. So if I go on here, link, this opens up in the same page, right? So if I put underscore blank, this makes this link open up in a new tab. So I click, this is Brave fault. Wait, open this in. Let me open this in Chrome. Give me a second, okay? I'm gonna open up in the here. I'll come here and I'll paste it to this. So as you can see, this is the link and target is underscore blank, which makes it open in a new page. Okay. This is basically the work of anchor element. You can actually link some file, anything. Okay. Now I'm gonna move to the CSS part, and I'm gonna show you guys
आसिफ
how we. हाँ.
सॉरी टू स्टॉप यू बट चैट पे थोड़ा ध्यान देना
एक सेकंड. क्या हो रहा
फोन पे खोल लो ना चैट क्वेश्चन हुआ तो वो लोग उधर पूछ रहे हैं
है? एक सेकंड. chats. You guys can also download the live extension. Join. Do not chat. मशीनी CSS के अलावा क्या यूज कर सकते हैं? भाई सौविक, अगर कोई नॉर्मल डाउट होगा तो तुम चैट में लिख भी सकते हो
Sure,
क्या? एंड
sure,
हम
sir. I'll
मोबाइल
inform you.
से, हाँ, और मोबाइल से उसको कर दिए। एक सेकेंड यार।
ठीक.
Let me, is this done? Okay, so I was here and in this page. So you guys understood what anchor tag is all about. Now I'm gonna move to the CSS part. How we can write CSS is by using a style element. Okay, we can style our button like this, and if you want to change the background color for the button, we can do that with red. Let's give it a shot, and it is red. If you want to change it to something else like black, it will do. Let me refresh, and it works. Let me change the color for the text. We use color to change the color of the text. Background color for the background. Okay, let me give white, and let me refresh this page. There you go. So writing HTML and CSS is pretty easy to understand. Okay, you just write different instructions and the computer will read it from top to bottom. If I go and do this and I refresh, you'll see the tags, the text, all those things which were below the button. It now appears on top of the button because I changed it here. Change the position of the element. So I'm gonna place it back up and I'm gonna do this. And if you wanna change the color for the text and for the, we can do by this. We can go for background color. Let me do light pink. You'll see the background is light pink. This is how we use CSS and HTML and how we use CSS to style the HTML elements. And this is what we call as selector. This selects which element we are trying to target. Okay, in here we are tagging paragraphs, in here we are tagging buttons. These are known as properties. What property we are trying to target on the selector. Okay, like for this example, background color to black, it changes. Color, that is for text changes to white. We can also put in height. Let me show height for the button. Let's do 20 pixels. This is not, let me give it 50. Forget. So we can alter height, width, all those things. Okay, and the pixel is a common value that is used in a digital world to measure the height length, width, etc., etc. We use pixel to actually um, measure images, videos, our screen, laptop screen. These are all in pixels. Okay, and let me change this back to red. So I want to show you guys something. I'm gonna change it to red like normally, and I'll give this 30 so it looks decent. I want to show you guys this the black outline on this button, that is border. If we set border to none, that means no border, so there won't be any border wrapping this button. Okay, and we can actually round this. We can round the corners for the button by using border radius, and we also measure this in pixels. So I'm gonna write around 5 pixels, rounded corners. Okay, and also show you guys with, you guys can get familiar with this, with 60 pixels. And let me change the border color. I'm gonna add the border color. Now I'm gonna do this border color to aqua. I'll show you guys, and border border color and border style to solid. Border style to solid, and border width to 2 pixels. Border width 2 pixels, and refresh. You'll see a seamless. This is without any distortion in color. This is solid. Okay, and we can also set as dotted. Let's try dotted. Let's see what happens. Okay, let me move ahead with this, and I'll show you how we can actually search for some properties, because we don't usually have it in our back of our mind. So what we can use is we can go to Google, and we can search properties like CSS rounded corners. Open the first link, border radius. Can actually go to the Google, search for whatever you guys wanna change in your website, whatever you guys wanna look for, have that picture in your mind and go search it in the Google. Okay, you guys will get the result, and you guys can actually use them in your HTML and CSS. So I'm gonna continue with this, and I'm gonna show you guys how we can actually get the, I'm gonna do none over here, border none, and I'll show you guys how we can actually use this VS Code color picker. This is actually a very useful tool with which VS Code, where you guys can pick the color you guys wanna keep on your HTMLs and CSS, how you can style it. These are the values these three are the values. Okay, how much red, green, and how much blue this color contains. The minimum of the value that can we can give is 0, 0, which is black. And the maximum we can give is 5, 255, and 255, which is white. I'm gonna give this red. This is how we can actually have the color values in our CSS. There are actually another type how we can give the CSS color, which is hex value. Hex value is we write hex values as like this. We start with and we'll have 6 characters. For example, I'll go 0096 and AA, for example. Let's see what it does, what it gives. So how hex value actually works is each character is base 16, which means it can have a value of total 16 values. Okay, each character, like for 0 it can have from 0 to F. If you guys know what hexadecimal is, I'm not gonna explain hexadecimal. Okay, and I'm gonna explain this what this 6 characters actually represent. This first 2 character, the 00, this represents how much red we have. The next two, how much green we have, and the last two, how much blue we have in this color. Okay, and there is actually one more way how we can pick the color, that is by using RGBA value. A stands for alpha. I'll show you. RGBA. Red, I'm gonna pick 78. Green, 56. Blue, 109. And alpha, I'm gonna pick 0.5. I'll explain what alpha is. First, let me refresh it. And if I give 1 over here, so you guys see the changes. Okay, if I give point 0.3, for example, opacity, right? This alpha gives you the opacity. This values from 0 to 1. 1 means completely solid, 0 means completely see-through, and zero point 0.5 can actually be 50% see-through. Okay, we already covered how we can give this color and text color border. Now I'm gonna show you guys how we can actually target a specific word or specific button in our code. So I'm gonna open this tab over here. I'm gonna you guys some these 2 buttons. Okay, these 2 buttons I'm gonna show you guys like this. What will happen if I go here? I'm gonna write button and one more. Let's name this button sign in button. Sign in, and here is join now button. Okay, so if we now open this in our browser, you'll see we have created this. We'll have some styles already inserted with them. I'm going to explain how. Let me refresh. You see we have the same style as our hello button, right? So what's happening now is we are in CSS. I already told you guys selector, right? So this is a selector, button selector. It is selecting all those buttons which is present on this web page, right? It is selecting all those buttons. So what we can do is specify which button we wanna target. Okay, so we can do that by using one more attribute, that is class attribute. It let us target a specific element with CSS. Okay, so I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna give it a class as sign in button and this as
As if
last.
at this check, oh, sorry to interrupt, but at this checkpoint, I think we should ask all the participants if they have any doubts. So अगर
Okay,
किसी भी participant को किसी भी section पे from the very
to
start
end,
up till
yes,
now
if you guys have
कुछ
any
भी
doubt,
doubt रहे तो
please.
पूछ लो. Either in the chat section,
Hmm.
no doubts till now. Good.
Everything is clear, right?
अगर किसी को कुछ भी डाउट है,
So
anything like
please
would
अभी पूछ
start
लो
get
यार.
blank, what
Hmm.
are attributes, so you may
Anything.
ask.
I think no. I have my chat open with me. No doubts. No doubts, right? I'm gonna continue then. So let me name this as join now button. So we can target this button specifically. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this dot and the class name is join now button. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy these styles and I'm gonna paste it over here. And I'll change the color to blue. Okay. And I'm gonna refresh and you'll see the change over here. And I'm gonna give it a width of actually 90 pixels. Let me give that. Okay, height is good. And this gonna give this some border radius to make it round as we had this in our LinkedIn page. Let me give that, give around 5 pixels. Let's see how it looks. I think I'm gonna give 15. Okay, so as you guys can see, I've given this border radius of 15, which makes it go around, border none, width of 90 pixels and height of 30, and with the color text of white and background of blue. So what you guys can see, as we have already targeted this button on this web page, this whole web page, the button have been already targeted this set of styles, right? But now we have specifically targeted this join now button, which makes this set of styles work. This can be done through because this class attribute can give this priority. Okay, it has an upper priority than this general specificity. Okay, that is how it works. So I'm gonna style this sign as well. I'm gonna just change color. I'm not gonna go in that same stuff because we don't have that much time, right? So I'm gonna give this just dot sign in button and I'm gonna paste this set of styles, and I'm gonna just give white, text of blue, text of blue. I'm gonna set the same width as 90s, and I'm gonna do the border radius of same, border radius of 15 pixels. Let's see. Okay. Why? Oh, sync. My bad. Sign. And I'm gonna give border of 1 pixel, solid, and color will be blue. Or let me copy this color. I'm gonna explain what I'm doing over here. As you guys can see, I'm adding 3 values to borders, right? So 1 pixels, that is how much border is gonna have, solid, border style, and the color. Okay, this is a way of representing CSS shorthand representation. We can do this border style, solid, border width, 1 pixels, border color, blue. So by using this style, by this set of representation, we don't need to actually write this thing again and again. We can just do it this by using shorthand CSS. Okay. And now I think I'm going to explain you guys what is a pseudo class and what happens in the pseudo class. So this is a class, this, and if we see on this page, right, we hover over this part, you'll see the background color darkens, right? It is getting a darker shade, and in this, it is getting whitish, but it is a bluish type. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna style this, and I'm gonna show you how it's done when we hover over it. Okay, this is this is used by a pseudo class. We can do this over here. I'm gonna do join button, colon, hover. This part, this is known as a pseudo class. This styles only apply when we hover over this button. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are changing the background color. We are darker shade, so I'm gonna write background color, and I'm gonna copy this color, and I'm gonna give a little darker shade. Okay, so let me copy this and let me paste it over here. I'm gonna find a little darker shade. This would work. Let me refresh this page, and if we hover over this part, you'll see we have gotten the darker shade. It is not same as what we have in this link, in this page, but this is enough to explain you guys what is happening, right? So I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna change my cursor. As you can see, this cursor is normal cursor, and while we are on this original page, it is changing into a pointer. So I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna write cursor and pointer. Let's refresh and let's see. You see, it changes into pointer. And I'm gonna show you guys one more thing. The transition property. Okay. So what transition properties. As when you see in this, it changes smoothly. It darkens, the darkened shades come up when it very smoothly. And in our case, it happens within a flash, let's say, in and out in a flash. But here it happens smoothly. That is transition. So I'm gonna write transition in our CSS. Okay. So I'm gonna explain what transition is. Okay. Transition takes two what do you say value. One is property and one is duration. So I'm gonna write in over here transition. Transition, let me write property background color. Okay. Background color, and one more property, that is duration, like in how much time that you want the duration in to appear. If it is, I'm gonna give for example 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna refresh this page. See, it will happen in a flash. And if I this duration to 0.1 change happening. So if I go here, you you see in and out. If it happens not within a flash, it will take this duration of time, this amount of time. So a good transition is about 0.2 second. If you can have whichever duration you like according to your need. Okay, so we have that. And I think I'm gonna explain you guys one more property, that is shadow box. Okay, in here only, when we hover over it, we need to have a shadow. A shadow will appear in here in this page. Okay, so I'm going to use box shadow for the property, and box shadow will take um, in values pixels. Okay, 3 pixels, 4 pixels, 10, or actually 10 pixels. Let's try 10 pixels. And for the color, I'm gonna go with black. So I'm gonna show you guys what will happen, and then I'm gonna style it accordingly. You see the shadow appears. It is not very, like kibble. So I'm gonna explain what is happening with this set of these values. Like for the first values, this is the horizontal position. The horizontal position of the shadow. This is for the vertical 4 pixels. If I change this to 10 pixels, you'll see what is happening clearly. 10 pixels of vertical shadow. And this is blur. How much blur in your shadow? This is 10 pixels of blur, 10 pixels of blur. And this is what shade of shadow you want to have. Black is not the very kind. We usually go for the whatever shade we have of the button. So I'm gonna give this 3 pixels here as well, and I'm gonna give blur to 0. Let's give 0, and I'm gonna give a little white grayish. Okay, so you guys can see what's happening. Okay, I need to give, sorry, now. Okay, God, let's add some blur of 5. Let's see. Let me add 5 pixels. Let's save this file and refresh. And refresh. It's not very visible because of this K. Give me a second and let me go again. Yes, it was all because of this K, which wasn't in the syntax. Sorry about that. Now I'm gonna show you guys how you can actually get this similar color, this similar styles. So what we're gonna do is over here, I'm gonna right click, go for inspect. Let's see what it shows. Inspect, and let me this out. Let me give the HTMLs. You see we have our HTML over here. Let me do this. We have our, you can see the sign in button, join now button. If we click this part over here and we hover over this page, you'll see we don't need to search for it. If we have a lot of things in, we don't need to search. We can just hover over this part and go for computed to see what set of styles this is using. Okay, so if we go over here, this has a border bottom color of white, appearance background color is this, border style is none, set. This is most of this are default CSS which there actually gives. Okay, and if we go over the style, this is what we actually have in our HTML. This color, the color, height, and if I open, let me close this. If this LinkedIn page, and if I click inspect over here, we can get which we have with this join now button. If I click over here, and if I go for computed, one second, over this part, this join now. See, you see all this computed part over here for this page. This is a working page, working normally because if I click over this and hover, and if I will open up the join part. Okay, so get back to my HTML. Wait a second, and here, and let me explain you guys what a box model is. Let me go over here. Let me open inspect again. And if I set this here, open full page, and hover over this join now button, hover, click, you'll see we have no margin, but we have some default paddings in our button. This paddings is space on the inside. Okay, inside of the element button are having by default 6 on their left and right, 1 top and bottom. Margin, we don't have margin in our buttons. Border, we don't have any border because this property has none. If I click over this button, we're gonna see border of 1 pixels, which we already had in our CSS, and margin is for the space on the outside. We don't have any space over here, but I'm gonna explain this in this text what margin is because this already has some margin. Click on this, we can see we have a default margin on paragraph element, which is of 16. We don't have any paddings on the inside. Okay, and we don't have any border on this text, this set of text. This is basically a box model of HTML, of CSS buttons and etc. And I'm gonna show you guys the margin, how we can work with margin and paddings. Okay, so if I go with my transition button, um, give me one sec. I'm sorry about that. I want needed to text. Okay, so I'm gonna work with the paddings. I'm gonna show you how padding works. Okay, let me open this page over here, and with this, join in. Join now. Give some margin top of 10 pixels. I'm gonna give 20. It'll be more visible. 20 pixels, and if I give margin margin left of 20 pixels, and we refresh, you'll see the changes. We have this margin between these two buttons because of this margin. And we can also set margin bottom. We'll take the same value in pixels. I'm gonna give 20 pixels. You can have margin towards your right, margin right of 20 pixels. And I'm gonna refresh. Let's see how it looks. And can see no changes because we don't have anything be beneath this button. I'm gonna create one set of paragraphs so just you guys can see what is happening. Anything. Okay, and now I'm gonna do this. If I remove this, and if I, okay, you see, by default, we, as I already covered, our paragraph, we have some margin. Okay, if I remove margin from this paragraph, so I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna any margin from this paragraph. So I'm gonna give margin 0. Now if I refresh, there won't be any margin, and you guys can see this text is touching our buttons, right? And if I give my margin to my buttons now, you'll see the, oh sorry, margin bottom of 20 pixels. You'll see the difference. Okay, so this is what basically margin does. It actually gives the space outside the element. Okay, and if I give paddings, let me remove this height and width for a second, and I'm gonna refresh, see what happens, and I'm gonna give some padding on the inside. So if I give padding 30 pixels, for example, and refresh, boom. Sorry, padding top, padding bottom, 30 pixels. Sorry, padding bottom, 30 pixels. Let's see. Hell, what the hell? Hmm, there isn't any. What's wrong? Padding top, padding bottom, padding right. Is it working? Padding right. Let me give 30 pixels again. Okay, because of the margin. Wait, what the hell? I joined in. Mess. Wait a second, guys. Let me give this. Padding on the inside, it wasn't working. Because padding, if I go for the padding on all sides, नहीं ऑन कर लीजिए नहीं आएगा वॉइस wait a second why is padding not working let me give it a try with my text if I go with the padding left with my text 50 pixels let me refresh and let's see yep it's working for some reason on this button it is not working okay so we can give padding on each side on all four sides. I'm gonna show you guys how we can give paddings with how we did with border, the shorthand. So if I give padding over here 10 pixels and 20 pixels, this means that we need to set 10 pixels top and 10 pixels bottom. This 20 pixels means 20 on each side, that is left and right. And we can also give this four values for each side of the. So if I give 10, this is for top. And if I give 10 pixels, this is for left. Yeah, sorry, this is for right. And if I give 10 pixels, this is for bottom. And if I give 20 pixels, this is for left. So what is happening? We are starting all these four values. We are starting from top, going right, then bottom, and then going to the left. It is like a clock in clockwise direction, right? Let me refresh. And as you can see, we have padding on top, on bottom, on the left side, and on the right side. Okay. And I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change these text. So I can do this is font family for the font, which type of font we want. I'm gonna give Arial and refresh. Let's see. This is the Arial. We can change font size. Let's see font size. I'm gonna give value of 20 pixels. Let's see. Okay, this was for this size, and we can actually give weight, that is bold, light, whatever. So let's give it a try. Font weight. We can give bold. We can give value like 400. 400 is for normal. If we give and if we refresh, it'll be normal. And if you want semi bold, we can give 500. And if you want more bold, we can give 700. These are the value and how we determine the boldness or weight of the font. Okay, and I can actually show you guys some Google fonts, but before that I'm gonna show you guys the um, text decoration. Let's go for it. Let's text decoration. We can give underline. So if I refresh, we'll have an underline over this all text on this hello world, anything, because we are targeting all paragraphs in on this page. Okay. And if I remove some text decoration, I can give none. Let's see what happens now. It will remove any underline or some text. Okay, so we can do is I can show you guys how we can use Google to generate different type of fonts. So I'm gonna go Google fonts. We'll open this Google font font.com, and I'm gonna pick some font and I'm gonna how we can use that those fonts. Go with mm, let's pick the top one, this Roboto. Let's pick this and let me open this up so I can add this font. Um, this Roboto style, get font, see how to use. We can copy this HTML. We can also get embedded code. I can copy this code and I can use this on my HTML. I can do this. Let's go for this link. We know how we can use this. We can use href, like we can use link, style sheet, and let's put our copy code in this, and let's give it a try. I think I'm gonna do this and do this. Let's see. I'm gonna save this file. I'm gonna go back to our code and let me go over here and go for Roboto. We downloaded Roboto. And for safe side, if Roboto is not included in my HTML, I'm gonna give it the Arial so it can fall back to the Arial if our Roboto has not been activated. Okay, so we can also style it like this, or we can also use comma for other like sans serif. We can also use this. If we don't have our Arial, it'll fall back to this font. Let me refresh and no changes. That means our Roboto hasn't been given over here because we are not using our HTML structure. So now I'm gonna go for the HTML structure, how we actually use HTML structure. So for HTML structure, I'm gonna create a new file. I'm gonna give this structure.html, and I'm gonna show you guys the uh, background noise था क्या? Anyone?
नहीं नहीं नहीं
नहीं था ना? Okay, perfect. अब देखो भाई, है?
थोड़ा सा आ रहा है
थोड़ा आ रहा है, चलेगा ना?
हाँ हाँ चलेगा
कुकर का नॉइस नहीं है यार, मिक्सर का नॉइस है. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I was going to show you guys this structure for the HTML, right? So if I go here and type HTML and then HTML, and inside HTML I'm gonna have head and gonna have a body. So let me give a body. So this is actually a HTML structure. This doc type HTML tells the browser to use a modern version of HTML, and HTML here and over here, it actually represents a web page. Head element contains the file that is not visible in our web page, and in our body, if we write anything inside our body, it will be visible, like text, images, colors, everything, which whatever we have seen up till now, if we put that into a body, that will be visible. So I'm gonna copy this structure, I'm gonna paste this over here so I can show you guys how we can do this. So over here, and over this I'm gonna give a title. You'll see the changes here. Okay, if I give it a title like structure, let's, for an example, let's give it a structure. So if I refresh, it will, oh sorry, title, and refresh, we'll see structure. Okay, for the body I'm gonna write this button paragraph, buttons inside, this will go inside a body element over here. And if I drop these styles inside our head, because this is not visible on our web page, so if I do this, you'll see we don't have any style now as of yet, because we haven't dropped this inside our HTML. So I'm gonna give this, and you see we are back. And you guys might have noticed one more thing, that without me reloading this page, this style was inflicted. You guys saw what happened, that this was done because of extension, that is live server. Let me search live server. This extension over here, because of this, whatever we now write in this page, you will see it will get inflicted without even us refreshing this page. So if I do this, you guys will see another hello world. And there you go. This was because we now have a proper structure of the HTML and which actually get us this open with live server extension. If we don't have the proper structure, this extension won't update our page in real time. Okay. So now I have done that. Let me do this. Let me first format document this. So yes, and let me link all this right ahead. Uh, over here will this will work over here. So let's check this one. Okay, we now have done this proper HTML structure, and now let's see the how we work with images and stuff. So I'm gonna do this. We already have this structure over here. I'm gonna go over here and I'm going to do this image. And let me explain this image, what this is. Let me give it a source. I have thumbnails. I'm going to give Robin. And if I open this in live server, it will be opening in here. And if I do this and not this, and this, and if I go away, and this will go here. Now we have loaded our in our web page, and this image element, as you can see, this doesn't require any closing tab. This is known as void void element, which doesn't require any closing tabs. Okay, and we can work with this. Like if I go in this section, if I write style, and if I give this, let me target this image. If we can do this, let's see, width of 200 pixels, and what you saw is we resize the image to a width of 200 pixels. Height will also be resized with the width to keep the image's dimension, because we don't want to destroy the image's property. We don't want to destroy how it looked. If I give a height of, for an example, if I give height of 300 pixels for an example, and see, this destroys the original dimension of our image. So we only keep this stretches out the image, right? So we only keep width for the styling of image, how we style, how we resize it, so it doesn't, so it keeps its dimension. Okay, if I give, like, if I give this, and if I do one more property we have, that is object, sorry, can give this object fit, and this will give cover. I'll give cover. So this is the, I'm gonna give border also. Let me give border. If I can add border of 1 pixel, solid red. Let's say, you see, we have let me give this 2 pixels so it can be visible nicely. And let me give it pixel in pixels. We refresh this. Goodness, red. So we have this area, okay, in which we have our image that is width of 200, height of 300, right? So if I did this, and this image is fit by cover, if I go and I change over here with the contain, this uh, uh, got refreshed. Okay, so if I do contain, you will see what will happen, that our image will have its original dimension. It won't be stretched, and it will be contained in our this width and height, this width and height. So if I go here and do contain, and you'll see we have our image with original dimension. And what we can also change this position, because now we have this much of space on on top and bottom. So we can do is object position, object position. We can go top. Okay, so we can also set it like this. We can go for bottom as well. Bottom. Okay, and if I do the cover, one second, if I cover, so you'll see that, and if I do this 200, let for a second, no, let me give it 500, so I can explain this property a little better. And if I give this position like right, let's see what happens. We'll have our right side of the image. Okay, so these are the properties that you can use with the image, and you can also get more properties by googling it on whichever type you want to have in your mind, and you can use that. And now I'm gonna move on to the inputs, like what we can have as an input structure. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna have an input element. This is also one of our void type element, which doesn't require any closing tab. Okay, we can have type, input type. We will have text. This is one attribute of, and we can have another um, placeholder, which will have a text inside this box. So we can write, for an example, name. So if I go here, so we can write name in here, Robin, for an example. Okay, I'm gonna change this to this and this. Okay, so we now know about the placeholder, and we can also give a class to this. So if I can give a class, for example, Robin, let's give just Robin, and we can change the font size, and we can also target our placeholder and change the size of the placeholder. So for an example, if I go inside my style over here and I go Robin, sorry, Robin, if I target Robin, And if I go here with the font size and give 15 pixels, 20 pixels, so we 25 pixels. Let's give 25 pixels so you can actually see the changes happening. All right. And how we can target this placeholder is by targeting Robin, and then by using colon and one more colon and then placeholder. And we can also give this font size of 25 pixels to this. And if I go over here and text, you see. Now that we are done with our images, how we can play around with images and how we can have our input, we can also have one more thing. Let me show you guys this type. I can give type checkbox. Let's give checkbox. Checkbox, I'm gonna remove this placeholder from here because checkbox we don't need, and we can remove Robin as well. We don't need this. So I'm just gonna explain you guys just checkbox. You see, pretty simple. Now I'm gonna remove this. It was just for you guys to see that we can also have our checkbox, search bar, anything, text. uh, And now I'm gonna move on to our CSS display property, which is pretty important property. And I want to show you guys this um, property. And let me do one thing. I'm gonna copy some text from here. Let me copy this and let me have it in our body over here. And this hello world will do as well. So let's do this, and I'm gonna do this, and we can format document this, and I think this will be good enough for me to explain this CSS display property. So to understand this display property, I'm gonna create. I have this paragraphs, and you guys will have, you see this as this an image and this input box. These are appearing side by side to each other, but this paragraph is appearing on top of each other, right? It is not side by side, it is on top of each other. And if I create one more paragraph, this will be like Robin, Batman, what anything. So how come this appears on the same line, this image and input, and our paragraphs appear on top of each other? So in HTML, we have three types of element. Okay, one is block element, and the other is inline block element, and one more is inline. What happened with this block element is this will take up the entire line. So if I style my, let me have this paragraph style from here. Okay, let me copy this and let me have it over here. And let me have this here. And I'm gonna remove this size. We can remove Roboto. We can remove sans. I'm gonna have, we can create margin bottom top, margin top of 10 pixels, 10 10 pixels. Now I can actually show you guys what will happen if I do something with this block element. Okay, so I'm gonna target, I'm gonna give some class in this as well. So let me give class as 1, this as class 2, and here we can give class as 3. So for if I go over here and I write 1, you guys can see this display. This is taking up the whole line, right? By default in our paragraph, we have the block element, okay, which takes up the entire line. So if I change this by default block, which we already have, to some inline blocks, let me give inline block, you will see that it will take only the it will take only, let me remove this as well, it will take only space that is needed. Okay, so this, if I do this again block, it will take up the whole line like this, and for 1 and 2 I'm gonna give for 2 and comma dot 3. By using comma we can actually select more than one class which we want to target. Okay, so I'm gonna change this display to inline block, and it will appear side by side. And by in paragraph we have, by default we have block element on paragraph. We can always change this by using inline blocks to give them as much space as needed. And by default in images we have inline block as well, and for inputs we also have inline blocks. These takes only as much space as they need. This is the reason why they appear side by side to each other. Okay, okay, so now I'm gonna explain you guys the devs. So let me open this dev.html, and as you guys already know, we need to have certain structure for our open live server to work. I'm gonna give head, body, and what div element is, it is like a container. Okay, we generally put other elements inside our div. We can put different types of elements like image, paragraphs, buttons inside our div, and which will actually create our container, a whole container which will be created. So to explain, div properly, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna give one div in here. So if I give div, and if I put all of these inside this div, you'll see for my doc, and if I remove this one, and if I style my div, I'm gonna give class container, and I'm gonna style my container I will give width of 500 pixels. 500 pixels. You see the changes. Now it all of the this paragraphs and everything is now within this 500 pixels. I'm gonna show you with the border. You can see 1 pixel solid black. So our container will be visible. You see. So div actually creates the container and we can put our all the different elements inside our division class, that is div class, and we can style them accordingly to our need. So if I can show you guys something like, if I change, let me change this border style to let's see, and our Robin, where we have our input, we have Robin 2 15 pixels and placeholder to 15 pixels. These all appear inside our container. All of these styles are inside a container. All of these elements are inside this container. We can style this, and actually I have already prepared one of the styles to actually show you guys, so I don't take up too much of your time. So I can go to def example.def. Let's see if we have this. And Batman, yes, I can show you guys a postcard or something. So you see, we have this. I have created 3 different divs. Okay, this div is different. This, all different. So you see this one div. If I remove this div from our HTML, you'll see only 2. And if I remove this, you'll see 1. And I'm gonna explain this. I have added one button. I've already explained you guys the hover property. In this, I have used opacity. I haven't used transition. This is one more paragraph. This is another paragraph. This is username. This is the property, that is two mutual friends. You can see over here. This has text of gray, white, mutuals color gray. We have padding bottom. If we remove padding bottom, then our button will touch our, where is my button? If I remove my padding from my suggestion, if I remove my padding from suggestion, this, if I remove this, you see what will happen. It will give a very odd design, right? So I added this padding. एक second, एक minute. 1 second, guys. Sorry. Yes, so let me go back to where I was explaining you guys, I think in this one. Yes, if I add this padding, you'll see these changes. So this is all with the help of this division. We divided this division so we can actually style this whole block, this profile for this image. This text container was these 2 texts we have, this 2 paragraph, and we also have one button. Okay, I've already explained you guys all these properties, and I have used all these properties to show you guys this. So I'm gonna head now down to our grids. Let me show you guys what grid is. We can use, let me close this tab, and this example from here. Let me close this, and let me move down to grid. For grid is actually, it turns an element into containers, bunch of containers. It is like matrix, 2 by 3 matrix, 4 by 5 okay. Think I'm taking too much of your time. I'm gonna speed up my session. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys the all of this I have prepared. Let me give you this. Let me see if this is what I think it is. I'm gonna explain what grid is and what we can actually do with the grid. So if I remove this, go into in oh right, I haven't explained you guys what inline inline CSS is, right? We can also write our CSS in one more way, that is this, like inline. We can use, I'm gonna show you with this. If I can create this div over here like this, and if I paste this over here, and if I remove all this style, okay, so we can create a display grid, and with grid we have to give our grid template. I'm gonna explain grid template. We can give columns, and we have to give how many row, how many column we're gonna have. So I'm gonna give 10 pixel, yeah, 100 pixels and 200 pixels to actually show you guys how we can do this. And I'm gonna remove this set of paragraph and remove this. I'm gonna add some margin bottom and margin top of 40 pixels, so you guys can see what is happening. And if I add one more column over here, this div one, which you can see over here, this will go to by side to this. Okay, this, and we can also, what we can do this is, if I give some text in this part, if I give p over here and some text to actually increase this height, okay, I can show you guys one more property of grid, that is justify content center. Let me give center, and you see, and I'm gonna give border, okay, so you can understand what is happening. Solid, and give red. We had this much of space, and with the justify content, we what we did, we all the division which was inside this div, inside this grid, it all came into this, and this has a default property. If I remove this will back to over here. This is the start, and if I give something like end, it will go back to this right hand side over here. And I can, what I can show you guys is one more property, that is center. If I align items, align items to center, you see nothing happens because we don't have this p over here. And give me just give me text. And if I give this back to center, you'll see this alignment of center. Okay, and I think we can give some row gap as well in between, so I'm gonna give some column gap of 20 pixels. Let's see, we will have gap in between. And we have one more display property, that is flexbox. Flexbox is also like grid, but it is a little flexible. Okay, so I also have that, and what I can do is I can show you guys in here, so it'll be much better if I remove this and remove this, and if I just remove all of this. Let me this, and I'm gonna show you guys this flexbox, and I can just quickly do this and this over here. So if I go this display flex, and if I give flex direction row, this is by default. We actually don't need to give this all the time, but as I'm showing you now and we don't have much time, I can just show you this, and I can do is justify content center, same as grid, but it be very different, you'll see. And we can give justify content space between, which will have space in between this uh, box. We have all of this space in between. Let me show you guys. And if I can show you guys space around, I can also show you space around. Let me, all the division will have space. And I can also show you guys one more thing. And one more thing about this flexbox is that we don't actually need to give the what do you say, width. This only takes as much space as it needs. Okay, if I give here width of 100 pixels, 100 pixels, you'll see this is 100 pixels, and we don't need to actually set any vertical alignment for this boxes. And whereas with our grid, if we had this text and we didn't have this text, it wasn't vertically aligned. Okay, so, and I can also show you guys this flex. If I go inside display flex, and if I go flex, let me do flex 1, it will take all of the remaining free spaces between this division and this division. Okay, and I'm gonna end uh, my explanation for Flexbox, and I actually have one more thing I can explain you guys, that is CSS position. If you let me finish that quickly as well. I think I have position in my, I must have, okay, we have position. This is CSS position. Let me open this as well. I can show you guys and explain it very quickly. I'm gonna remove absolute for this example, I don't need this. Um, or rather, let me open up this Instagram. Let me show you guys what it actually means to have CSS element and in your HTML web page. Okay, and what it does is creates element that sticks to a page while scrolling. Okay, so I'm scrolling, but as you can see, these bottoms design this these are not moving with this page. Okay, we are back and forth, but these are not scrolling. This is happening because in here we have to set one um, property that is position. In here मेरे पास होगा position fix. You can see position fix for our sidebar. If I open our sidebar has a position fix, and our header also have a position fix, right? So this is happening. We can scroll no matter how much we scroll, it won't. It is fixed on this web page, not here on this browser, not on the web page. Okay, this doesn't sticks to our web page. This sticks to our what do you say, browser. And if I show you guys this property, if I for the header section, if I give 10 pixels, you will see it will move down 10 pixels. Let me give 10 pixels. It will move down 10 pixels from the top of the edge of the browser. Okay, and let me give this 0 so it can go back. And this I can also do one thing. If I do 10 pixels over here, you will see that it will stretch all the way from right to left. If I remove right from here, it will only have this much space, this much inline block element. Okay, this is inline. And if I give static over here to show you guys what will happen, this will turn into this. This will turn not fixed static, which is or our element, and this will turn into a block element. I'm gonna give it fixed. I'm gonna give top 0, left also 0, and I can show you guys how we can actually stretch this to all the way to the right hand side. If I give right to 10 pixels, it will be 100 pixels. Let me give 100 pixels so I can show you what will happen. 100 pixels to right. So this is stretching from left 0 to right, leaving 10 pixels of space in between. Okay, in the right hand corner. I can give this 0 and remove pixel. We don't need this. And how we can stretch this to bottom? If I give bottom, let me give 500. So and here this will be stretched down. Let me give 100 to show you guys now. Width of already have width, I think. So I think I'm gonna give it to 400 pixels, and with this I think I'm going to end this. Okay, so because I have taken too much of your time explaining all of this, and I actually had more things to explain, but I cannot cover all of this in this short amount of time. So I'm sorry about that. And I'm gonna end my session with this. So thank you for your patience. Yep. this will be, and I'll send you some links so you guys can see some CSS properties from there. Okay.
आसिफ
हाँ
फीडबैक का
भाई.
क्यूआर फीडबैक का क्यूआर स्क्रीन शेयर पे दिखा दे. Guys, I'm sending you a link in the chat box. Kindly give your feedback regarding the session for today.
Where is the thing?
Uh, I'll
QR
forward
भेज.
it. हाँ देख. Just a minute. हाँ देख.
एक सेकेंड खोल रहा.
Either you can click on the link or Asif is sharing a QR. Kindly please scan it and give your feedback. लगा नहीं था कि 20 जन रह जाएंगे यार. We started from 55 I guess.
का, काफी ज्यादा ही टाइम तक खिंचा गया इसलिए.
This shows their
Sorry about that, guys.
dedication. You guys for being with us.
I'm sharing. Okay, so you guys can see the QR. You guys can give your feedbacks and what you liked, what you didn't like. Anything would work. Thank you guys for showing the patience and
After giving
staying.
the feedback, you guys can leave the meet. Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you guys. Stop sharing.
Sorry.
बस प्रेजेंटर में हम ही लोग हैं क्या पे?
हाँ हाँ.
भाई इतना लंबा टाइम चला गया पता भी नहीं चला.
You guys can leave the meet right
If you guys are done with the thing,
now.
you guys can
किसी
leave.
को किसी
अगर किसी को कुछ भी डाउट है तो तुम
किसी
लोग
को अगर
कम्युनिटी में डाल सकते हो मैसेज और हम एक्सप्लेन कर देंगे उसमें.
and don't
And I
forget
can
to
even
join us
share
tomorrow.
some.
Don't
क्या बोल
forget
रहा
to
है?
join us tomorrow because of the
हाँ.
JavaScript session. उसमें बहुत मजा
Javas.
आने वाला है.
Yes, that will be much more fun because we have animations and a lot of things to be discussed over there. You guys can join tomorrow as well and ask your friends to join as well.
Okay, let's leave, Asif. Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you guys. Good night. Good night, everyone.